Phil Hirschkorn joins us with them. Hi, Phil.
Hey there, team. I'm back with our analyst from Political Brew, Democrat Emily Kane, former state legislator and House Minority Leader some years ago, Jason Levesque, Republican, three-term mayor of Auburn. Let's pick up with a conversation with the place you guys live, CD2. Perhaps closer than some folks expected. We have three candidates really bunched together with still two-thirds of the vote outstanding. Baldacci, who we just heard from, Jordan Wood, and Matt Dunlap.
I mean, I talked about this a little bit earlier. I expected it to come down to Dunlap and Baldacci, but also honestly, the long campaign and the well-funded campaign that Jordan Wood ran, I think that was the unknown here. And this is where it's going to get interesting as we head into ranked choice voting. What mattered more? The longer connections of the Baldacci name, the long public service of Matt Dunlap, or the newcomer, Jordan Wood, who had a lot to say and a lot of money to say it with. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know where this one's going to land now.
Yeah, it is interesting. And you look at some of the returns and you start looking at by county, especially by town. Jordan Wood's really overperforming in Androscoggin County. He is originally from Androscoggin County, but he's been gone so long, I don't believe he has really those strong Baldacci-esque roots to pull from. But he won Auburn by a substantial margin. And I live in Auburn, and I did not see him out there campaigning heavily in Auburn. He was in Lewiston a little bit. Lewiston has yet to report. So that's kind of the big shocker for me tonight, is seeing how well Jordan Wood's done so far. Yeah,
the centers of gravity in the 2nd District really are Androscoggin and Penobscot counties. And the fact that these candidates, 2 of them come from Penobscot, and one of them, though it's been a minute, right, comes from Androscoggin County, really puts it in an interesting place. Where in the past, we might have seen 2 candidates or 3 candidates come from different, sort of centers of gravity in the 2nd District. This is really going to play it out. And it's actually interesting. It's going to mean counties like Hancock County, which we expect high turnout because of Graham Plattner being from there. Hancock County and Waldo County would be the next 2 sort of centers of gravity for Democrats. So that's what I'm going to be looking for.
Just the arc of this race. Jordan Wood started in the Senate race, but as Graham Plattner took off and then Janet Mills got in, he switched to this race. And Matt Dunlap announced he was in the primary while Jared Golden was still in it, before Jared Golden surprised us all and said he wouldn't seek a 4th or 5th term. So, and Joe Baldacci got in very late, relatively speaking, January. But the Baldacci name, whether it's his brother, the governor, or his family restaurant, or
I mean, it does carry weight, especially in Penobscot County, and I mean throughout 2nd CD. Maybe before he was governor, John Baldacci was a congressman representing 2nd CD, and a lot of people still remember that name.
And Joe has been in the state senate, in the last several years, getting himself out there the same way Matt Dunlap, having been the Secretary of State and then been the state auditor, has not left the consciousness necessarily of the public discussion.
This is going to be an interesting ranked choice voting scenario here, especially if they're within tenths of a point of each other. Then you're going to look at recounts. How do you do recounts on each round of ranked choice voting? That's going to be, from a political geek standpoint, kind of fascinating to watch.
So still 70% of that vote, but they're all around 30% right now. Let's just shift gears briefly to the Republican gubernatorial primary, which, again, more voters in the 2nd District than the 1st. They all spent more time up there than they did down here in southern Maine. Bobby Charles is ahead.
As expected.
But it's getting closer. The more vote comes in. He's now in the high 30s. Midgley and Jonathan Bush close to 20%. Garrett Mason coming in 4th. Maybe a disappointment for the guy who was the runner-up last time he ran.
If I could, I mean, really, I think what we're seeing here is Republican primary play out kind of as planned, if you would. We've talked about this before over several weeks. I think as more Cumberland County, York County, CD1 results come in, you're going to see that Charles lead go down from 39%, what it currently is, probably down into the mid to low 30s. You're going to see Bush and Midgley probably split the difference and continue their upward momentum. I think Garrett Mason is where he's at. I think actually everybody else is where they're at. So this is going to be a 6-round ranked choice voting, if my math is correct. on this. So
I mean, I think if you're Bobby Charles tonight, you are not feeling as good as you thought you were going to.
Why not? He's in first place.
I understand, but the public polling all had him coming in over 40%. I think the minute his numbers drop below 40, he starts to get worried about ranked choice voting, where, we've seen in the past, oftentimes whoever's in first, especially if they've got a little bit of a lead, they're the closest to 50, right? They have the shortest distance to go to get there. And every point that he drops below 40, that hill gets a little steeper for him.
But he's still 20 points ahead of Midgley and Bush as we speak.
He is, and that matters, right? I mean, because again, he still is going to have the shortest distance to go.
And in the Democratic primary, every 5 minutes it changes. Now it's Shaw, Jackson, Pingree, Bellows. They're all between 20 and 26%, with 60% of the vote yet to be counted tonight. What's your take? You predicted Shaw might end up in first place.
Yeah, I mean, 60% of the vote in the Democratic primary lives basically between Cumberland County and York County, and primarily is centered. The geographic center of the Democratic primary is in the South. So that's where I'm watching those returns come in. It's actually really fun. I mean, Hannah Pingree won North Haven. No shock.
Her island.
Her island. I hope she won it, though it was not unanimous. So, you got to look at that, too. I think we're going to see the flavor of the 2nd District impact this primary, particularly Hancock County, because of the high turnout with Graham. That's where Shenna Bellows' roots are from. Aroostook County should come in very strong for Troy. But this southern part of the state, where these people are not from, really, because Nirav has only lived here for 6 years, I think you really are fighting for all of the votes. And that's where the sustained campaign of Hannah Pingree, the fact that Shenna has been the Secretary of State, Troy has been out there for a while, and in the state Senate, and Nirav Shah has the COVID Facebook, personality. It's really going to be a drag out right through RCV.
What do you see the Democratic race?
There's a couple observations, a little odd maybe, but Troy Jackson's definitely underperforming. I thought he'd
underperforming.
Interesting.
I thought he would. I thought he'd do a little bit better, honestly, because he was so attached to Graham Plattner. So now we have that riff of the Democratic Party, where you're seeing Plattner getting 75% and Troy getting what's it now, 30%?
I blinked. It's now 23%.
23%. And they're all neck and neck pretty much early voting count. So I thought he would do much better. I think he also thought, though I haven't talked with him, probably never will, that he would do much better by hitching that wagon to Plattner. So that's interesting. I think as the numbers play out, we'll see what happens. Does Shenna, who I don't think will make it past the 3rd round of ranked choice voting, or 4th round, who are her voters' second choices? Are they going to go to Hannah? Are they going to go to Troy? I don't think they'll go to Nirav.
Well, and Angus King III is out there too.
Disappointing,
right?
Only 8%. His first run for office.
Yeah, and his first run for office, but not totally shocking, right? Because the money in his campaign came later. Mm-hmm. He started with high name ID because obviously he has the same name as his dad. But I think his votes, that first round of second place votes, is going to give us an initial clue on where things might be headed. And that's going to be interesting to see.
Let's wrap things up with a brief recap of the U.S. Senate race. Graham Plattner declared the nominee, way over 50%. We just don't know how much over. We carried his speech for 22 minutes about an hour ago. All our audience heard that. A lot of criticism of Collins. Some of it was counterfactual. We corrected that. She put out a statement saying her campaign did. She's a national leader with a long record of accomplishments, consistently been recognized as one of the most independent and bipartisan members of the Senate. They talk about her chairmanship of the Appropriations Committee, $1.5 billion in earmarks for 650 projects, and 10,000 consecutive votes without missing one. I mean, Jason, you're the county chair of the Collins campaign, right? That was announced publicly today.
Was it?
And Andrus yeah,
I wasn't even copied on the email.
Well, you were in the press release.
I hope they told you.
I mean, this is very much, these are going to be her key talking points against Graham Plattner. She's going to stay focused on her record and maybe let the noise and criticism rub off.
Yeah, I mean, she has a record to stand on. Not only does she have ideals, she has a proven track record of representing her constituency in Maine. And I just think back over the last couple decades now, and every time she voted against a sitting president, whether it be Bush or Trump, she kind of got some critique from her own party. That right there tells me that she's perfectly fitted for Maine. She gets hit on each side, and you know what? because she does what she thinks is right and what the majority of Mainers think is right on an issue-by-issue basis. You're not going to agree with her 100% of the time, regardless of which party you're on. But again, who do you agree with 100% of the time? No one.
It was interesting when Vice President Vance came to that rally in Bangor a couple weeks ago, not just to endorse Paula Page, who will be in the 2nd District nominee for Republicans, but he said, I wish Senator Collins were more partisan. They served together in the Senate.
They did serve together.
But she's not. She's more independent and a better fit for Maine, right?
Absolutely she is. I mean, she is Maine. And I don't think real Mainers can look past that.
I'm not going to argue with any of the facts, but I think we have to talk about where the challenge lies for her. The challenge lies for her in keeping it focused on all the things you're talking about and insulate as much as possible from the noise, the chaos, the unpredictability, and the volatility of President Donald Trump. This is going to be her challenge. We talked earlier about Graham Plattner's challenge to keep it focused on his message of putting the check on the president, putting Democrats back in the majority in the Senate. The challenge for the senator is to keep it focused on the things she wants to talk about in Maine and insulate from the noise. It's going to be really noisy this year. It's going to be hard.
Very briefly, Janet Mills put out a statement. It doesn't mention Graham Plattner's name. There's not an endorsement, but she talks about being grateful and to the Maine people and proud of the work we've accomplished together. Her words, she says, I'll continue to fight with everything I have to improve the lives and livelihoods of Maine people. A nice statement, but no mention of Graham Plattner. You were on Team Janet. What's going on?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to her. I haven't seen the statement.
I want to know too.
I don't know. Okay, but what I will say is that Janet, during her campaign, said she's always backed the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate. She was very clear about that before she backed out of the campaigning side of the race. Janet is the boss of Janet, and Janet has always put the people of Maine first. I think we're going to have her find her own voice in this campaign season between now and the end of the year as she continues to lead our state so capably in the Blaine House.
Emily Kane, Jason Levesque, Political Brew regulars, thank you very much. Let's toss it back upstairs to you, Brian and Amanda.